Bass Reeves was born in Crawford County, Arkansas in 1838 and named after his grandfather, Bass Washington. Arkansas state legislator William Steele Reeves enslaved his family. Bass was forced to work as a water boy before becoming a field hand. All the families moved to Grayson County, Texas when he was 8 years old. At the outbreak of the Civil War, Steele's son, George Reeves, a local sheriff, joined the Confederate Army, bringing Bass along with him. The war would turn bloody and dire, and according to one account, George and Bass were dealing cards and had an argument that led to Bass beating George severely. Other scholars say the news of freedom led to his flight. Whatever the reason, Bass found his temporary freedom in another's confinement. He was living in Indian Territory, days away from where he traveled. But here, Bass was accepted alongside the Cherokee, Creek, and Seminole. They taught him their ways as he grew to know their various languages. During this time, Bass developed a quick draw and knowledge of tracking. By 1865, the war had ended and the 13th Amendment's abolishment of slavery officially declared his freedom. Bass relocated to Arkansas and took up farming near Van Buren. He briefly toiled the land with his wife, Nellie Jenny, as they raised 10 children. It is said Bass took odd jobs scouting Indian Territory for U.S. Marshals. He was tall and strong, but courteous. He was finely dressed, but occasionally dressed the part, whether it was for a farmer, outlaw, or cowboy. Word of mouth spread around justices that Bass was highly skilled, intelligent, well-liked, and keen with the firearm. In 1875, Isaac Parker took over as federal judge of Indian Territory. Parker made James Fagan a U.S. Marshal and ordered him to hire 200 full-time deputies. Fagan remembered hearing about Bass and reached out to him for the job, knowing he knew the area and had learned several indigenous languages. Parker ordered to clean up the territory and to bring in criminals alive or dead. Working alongside other lawmen, such as Heck Thomas and Bill Tillman, Bass became the first African-American deputy to serve west of the Mississippi River. Notably, the posse had a wagon, a cook, and a Native American guide. He rode a white stallion in front as they traveled up to 800 miles to catch an outlaw. While Bass could not read, he had a solid memory and correctly memorized the warrants given. Typically, he returned with a train of outlaws and was paid handsomely before his trip home. According to legend, Bass was tracking 2 outlaws in Red River Valley. His posse made camp outside of where he expected the outlaws to be at their mother's place. He dressed up as a drifter with 3 bullet holes in his hat and hobbled with a cane to the house. The mother answered the door, and he told a sad story about being shot at while escaping the law. She invited him in to eat, wherein she spoke of her sons in a similar predicament. It wouldn't be long before the men arrived, and Bass spun yet another tale to gain their trust. He made it look all too easy as they bunked down for the night, and when they began to snore, he handcuffed them both, and in the morning they were under arrest and hauled away. Bass served in this role until 1893, when he was transferred to the Eastern District of Texas. In 1896, his wife Nellie had died, and Bass moved again back to Indian Territory at the Muskogee Federal Court. All combined, Bass served 32 years as a federal peace officer in Indian Territory and was honored by Judge Parker as one of his most trusted deputies. In 1900, Bass remarried to a Winnie Sumter, adding to his 11 children. Upon his retirement in 1907, he had a record of 3,000 arrests and sent 14 outlaws to their graves, which he argued was mostly in self-defense. None of the crimes was as heartfelt, though, as bringing his son Benny in for murder. Benny did time in Leavenworth, but left a model citizen. In 1907, Oklahoma became a state, and Bass, having turned 68, took a job as an officer of the Muskogee Police Department. He could only serve 2 years before an illness from Bright's disease forced retirement. He died on January 12, 1910. Bass's legacy includes statues and a bridge named in his honor, along with some historians speculating if Bass was in fact the inspiration for Lone Ranger. This has been Biographies of the West. My name is Lorin Morgan-Richards. Thanks for watching.